We deal with lots of investors with lots of goals. One of the most common strategies that we see, especially with newer investors, is the high risk, high reward investment. These are the homes that oftentimes are advertised on public websites, that are talked about in success stories all over the place. I bought a house for $50,000, rented it for $1,000 a month, and it was the best thing in the world. While those stories do exist and those opportunities are out there from time to time, high risk, high reward properties tend to get investors thinking about the high reward part of it and not thinking about the high risk part of it. Early on in my experience in property management, when we first came to Kansas City, we dealt with a lot of those kinds of properties. And no doubt there were a handful of them that were very successful. The majority, however, fell into the high risk category. You have risk of vandalism, you have risk of tenant default, you have risk of maintenance issues that, especially on older houses, can become very, very costly. And so while you may have a high cash return on the property in the short run, over a long holding period, you may find that additional maintenance costs, additional vacancy time, additional rehab expenses eat into and can oftentimes turn your overall investment to be much less lucrative than you would have on a more stable investment property. The other thing that I think is important to note is the investors that really succeed on those high risk, high reward properties tend to be the local volume investors. It's somebody who is close enough to do the work themselves. They don't have to hire others to do the work from a distance. They're able to buy 20, 30, 40 or more properties at these reduced rates and then average their successes over the portfolio. Many of the investors that we work with are out-of-state investors or otherwise engaged in a full-time job and are only buying 1, 2, or 3 properties. And you just can't take advantage of some of the benefits that are possible when you have to do that from a distance. You have to pay retail prices for contract work and property management and everything else. And you're not able to offset one risky house with another one that might be more stable and average your returns. So the high risk and high reward has a place, but for many investors, it's not what we recommend until they are in a position to absorb and really take on that kind of risk.